Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Bright Side of Life. I am your host, Melissa Bright, and today I am talking with Robb Kelly. Robb, PhD, is a renowned addiction consultant who believes in treating the problem of addiction, not the symptoms. He has worked for many years helping addicts and alcoholics to recover their lives from the disease of addiction. Based on his own experiences working with addicts and alcoholics over the last 20 years, a PhD in psychology from Oxford University, and as a recovered alcoholic himself, he is a triple threat against the disease of addiction. Robb, I am so excited to have you here. Welcome to the Bright Side of Life. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Melissa. Doing awesome. Another Tuesday in San Antonio, Texas, just in case you thought I was from West Texas with my accent.
Well, I thought you were across the pond, so now I know better.
Manchester, England is where I was born.
Okay. How long have you been in the States?
15 years.
Okay.
But the crazy thing is, I only come here for 2 weeks, and that is not a joke. That's serious. I came here 2 weeks to a little seminar in Plano, just outside Dallas, Texas, and I stayed and I went back home again.
That's awesome.
I know,
That's
just
awesome.
like you do, just I don't know.
Exactly. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right in. I would love first for you to share your own personal story of how you went from hopelessness to hope in your journey to recovery.
Well, chronic alcoholic here. Suffered from alcoholism most of my life. Lost lots of people on the way. Lost a great marriage. Lost 2 children. Mom and dad. Everybody wouldn't speak to me. I was doing pretty well in life, but the alcoholism was creeping over and started to really get the better of me, which it does with alcoholism. But I didn't know anything about alcoholism. Neither did anybody else when I was suffering. It's just like, oh, I don't know what to do. Go to AA meetings or something. So anyway, got married, thought that will solve it. Nope. 2 children. Nope. Anyway, eventually I became homeless with alcoholism, stayed on the streets for 14 months, and then managed to get off to a spiritual awakening, meeting this guy. And then so that was the hopeless part. And then I also remember being on the streets. Lots of things happened on the streets. I mean, living in bush shelters, living on trees, in park benches, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I made a promise to myself that if I ever got off the streets, I'd spend the rest of my life finding out what alcoholism is all about, because nobody had an answer for me. And more of all, even the family, of which is a big part of our program, is the wife and anybody over the 18 also needs to come on board when you work with us, because the effect it has on the family is absolutely unbelievable. So in a nutshell, I know we'll go back and dissect it, but when the guy found me on the streets, he took me back to his house, and right there my life took off, and I started slowly but surely started building up confidence again, and got a little job, and all of a sudden now, many years later, I'm in Texas living the dream instead of dreaming of living, because that's what I did on the streets. I dreamt of living a normal life. I remember passing, it was Christmas Eve and it was snowing. I had little clothes on. I passed the houses. I was walking down the street endlessly, not going anywhere, drinking vodka. And I looked through a window, and it was this perfect picture of this family. They were all sat around the table having Christmas dinner, and they were pulling crackers and party hats on. And I asked God if I could just have that one more time before I die, just one meal with any family and children, because mine had been taken away. So all that memories and all that trauma that I suffered, of course, had to be worked on, but I was adamant. So over the last 20 years, I've gone back into alcoholism. I found out the neuroscience behind it, and I found out that alcohol's got very little to do with alcoholism. And I've studied and I've trained and I've learned, and 15 years on since I've been in here, we have 5 practices around the world. We telehealth only, and we've dealt with around 7,000 patients so far.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. My question regarding your story, did you know at At what point did you know that you did have a problem? And then did it become the question of, well, I have a problem, but I don't know how to get help and what to do about it?
Great question. I never knew I had a problem until when the wife left and the kids went and the house went and the businesses went and I was, homeless for the first time in my life, sat there going, what the hell just went wrong? Never thought I had a problem. I thought I drank a little bit too much, but that's it. Uh, 13 months and 3 weeks and 6 days, never thought I had a problem. Just going through a bit of bad luck. But there was one night, and I'd always tell this story. It sticks in my mind, and it was where everything changed for me. And I was walking down the cobbled parts of Manchester, the back streets where all the factories and businesses are. There's no people there that time of night. It was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It was pouring down, and I dropped to my hands and knees. I didn't want to go on my hands and knees, but I dropped to my hands and knees, and I started to cry like a baby. The aching cry from the tummy. And I remember the rain hitting my back of my head, coming round my face, mixing with my tears and hitting these cobblestones and turning like a purple color. And I was sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. I wasn't sobbing because I lost my kids or my wife or my money. I was sobbing because the first time in my life, I realized I couldn't stop drinking. And it was right there. I looked up to the sky as a non-believer and an atheist. And these are the words I said. If there is a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. 30 seconds later, a guy walked around the corner in the middle of nowhere. He had a little Bible in his hand. He asked me if I want help. And I said, yes, I'm dying. He took me back to his house. And my journey started there.
Wow. That's like goosebumps. Goosebumps.
That's not the crazy part, which we'll get into later. Yeah,
No?
I met a guy who taught me everything, and we could never relocate him. We tried to go back to his house, and there wasn't anybody there. That was a crazy story. I only tell that now and again because you've got to have you've got to have a spiritual stroke believer type mind to understand what went on. But
right.
When I went back to this guy's house, he said, Rob, the only stipulation, I don't know you. You can stay as long as you want, but you have to come to some AA meetings with me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I've been there. It's horrible. But that was the situation. So I went with him that night. The following night, I went with him and the meeting started and I hated it. Then halfway around, this guy called John said, my name's John. I'm a recovered alcoholic. And I'd never heard that before. I was like, what does he mean, recovered? What? I've lost my kids. Were you telling me now you can recover? So I always been walking over and saying, would you be my sponsor? And he said, no, but I will be your spiritual advisor for a period of 8 weeks, which I thought was weird. So he gave me his address. He said, come round with this book and this book, come round and I'll start teaching you. So every Wednesday, the further it gets out, the more days I get mixed up. I think it was a Wednesday, 7 p.m. I would walk to his house, start off at 6, get there for 7, spend an hour with him, exactly 60 minutes. Then he would lead me out. I spent an hour walking back to Derek's place where I'm staying right now. I did that for 10 or 12 weeks. I can't remember. And he taught me everything. He taught me what about God. He said that I'd been chosen. And the last day with him, he said, your life will change from tomorrow. And I said, well, no disrespect, but I'm at this guy's house in the basement on a blow-up mattress or a mattress on the floor. There's no way he's going to change. Nobody knows I'm here. But he was adamant that he was going to change. And he taught me lots of stuff and that I never need drink again and how we can change and, remold the brain and stuff, which was unheard of back then. Right. So anyway, next day I got home. And the next day, Derek came home and said, hey, we've got a part-time job at my place for you, which later that week turned into a full-time job. The week after, one of the guys there felt sorry for me because I was catching the bus. He gave me a little car. So I traveled to work and back. So after about the first 2 weeks, my life started to pick up. I had money in my pocket for the first time. So I went to the gas station, petrol station, if anyone in the UK is listening. And I got him a little teddy bear. That's all I could afford. It was this big, Melissa. And a card saying, thank you, John, for introducing me to God or something like that. And I walked back to his house, his apartment. When I got to his apartment, it looked like there was nobody living there. So I banged on the door, nothing. I was hitting that loud that the right-hand neighbor opened the door and she says, can I help you? And I said, yeah, where's John moved to? And she said, John. I said, yeah, John. You got the wrong address, love. That's been vacant for at least 3 months that I've lived here. So I let her close the door, like, Looney Tunes.
Right.
I went to the other side and I knocked on the guy's door a bit heavier than I should. And he come to the door. I said, "Where's John relocated to?" And he said, "John." I said, "John next door." He said, "Listen, mate, I've been here for a couple of years, and that apartment next door has been derelict for 12 months. You are not allowed to go in there. It's dangerous. You can't go in." I'm thinking, okay, they're under both Looney Tunes. So I went back to the meeting where I first met him. And I said, "Do you remember me 12 weeks ago?" And I came in. He said, "Yeah, I remember you." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you remember John I was speaking to over in the coffee machine?" He said, "John." And I'm like, "Why do I keep mentioning, people keep saying John?" I said, "Yeah, John, the coffee machine." And this is what he said to me, Melissa. He said, "You were over at the coffee machine speaking to yourself, Rob. Never trace that man. Can't find out where he come from. Nobody's heard of him. I've searched high and low. Can't find him. But he gave me a program and it changed my life that helped me change hundreds of thousands of lives since. And it's the reason why I stand here today in front of you in Texas. That's the guy that changed everything for me. But we can never.
That is crazy.
I know. And there's a thousand things like that happened to me. When I first got here after 2 or 3 weeks, I was vomiting blood, but I couldn't go to the hospital because I was not insured. Didn't know you had to be insured over here to go to the hospital.
Right.
Eventually, I was that bad. They took me, and the doctors came in after examining and said, "Look, you have cancer of the esophagus. Where do you live?" And I said, "Well, I live here now, but I have got parents in England. We need to call them. We're going to be operating in the next 60 minutes. We need to call them." So I was so upset that they called him. The doctors called mum and dad and explained that the cancer was that bad, and the operation, there's probably about an 80% chance of not making it. So it's really bad operation. So I said my bye-byes, all that stuff. It was horrible. They took me down. The next thing I knew, I woke up in the bed again in the room, and there was 4 people in white coats, 3 people in businessmen, and 2 nurses. And they thrust a board in front of me with a paper on, and my wife said, "Just sign it." So what? Just sign it. So I signed it, and the relief on the face. Apparently what they've done is they took me down for one more x-ray before they took me into theatre, and they couldn't find the cancer in the esophagus.
What?
And the reason why they were giving me the paper to sign is because they called my parents and I could sue them for millions and millions of dollars. So they wanted me to sign as soon as I woke up. They said to my wife, "I'm sorry." Well, my wife said, "God's taken over. It's no problem. He'll sign it. He'll understand." I never understood that. I just, and there's lots more like that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you didn't have the surgery? Or did you have the surgery?
No surgery. They didn't get that far. So they give me a pre-med. So I was like in Twilight Land. But when I woke up, nothing. Yeah. They'd done nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you have been sober for how long now?
A few days, as we like to say. It's like, we belong to this group that believes that length of sobriety is not important. What's important is how you show up. Yes. And how you present yourself, and that somebody looking at you and watching your behavior should know that you're in a position to sponsor them because you have found a solution. We're very big on that. So none of us disclose sobriety dates, whether you've got a week or 30 something years. It should not make a difference.
I love that. So really quick backstory about me is I have been around AA since I've been a little girl. My mom was recovering drug and alcohol. My stepdad is still currently sober. God bless his soul. So I'm very, very excited to hear your approach on this because, as you know, I just asked you, I guess, a common question, of sobriety. You get your coins, you get all that fun stuff. So I'm very interested to hear about your approach because you also have been coined to be known as the Gordon Ramsay of the addiction world because of your direct, no nonsense, candid approach to teaching addiction. So I really, really, really liked the topics that Courtney sent in your thing. I actually usually do my own questions, but I feel like this is, if she put these are very important things that need to be talked about when it comes to.
I've not seen them, by the way. I don't do questions, they do all that. I just like, let Melissa ask me whatever she wants. It'll be good.
Yeah.
So
No, I love these. And I will say I did allow my friends on social media to ask some questions also because, all of us, as you said, everybody knows somebody that is struggling with addiction. So let's first start with maybe the obvious or not so obvious, but how can we recognize signs of alcoholism and addiction?
the biggest sign, there's a difference. Alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made. So I want to put that out there straight away. That's probably freaking people out already, but let me explain. Alcoholism is a predisposition. It's passed down from generation to generation. It's neural pathways that are self-sabotaging along with a hypothalamus and a basal ganglia that are not the same. Okay, so you can trace alcoholism, not so much with drug addiction. So they both present the same, but chemically they're slightly different. I'm allergic not to alcohol, but the ethanol in alcohol. It's all about neuroscience and understanding.
Okay.
So you have to realize that if you trace generation back, so if a friend comes to me and go, hey, I think I've got a problem. First of all, if anybody says that to you, they probably do have a problem.
Yeah.
But we have to understand that alcoholism is the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. 10 DUIs are not make you an alcoholic. Now they're a word from the doctor. This is a self-imposed crisis that we need to look at. So I'm tracing the family back. Is the alcoholism in the family? No. Okay. Let's look if you're abusing alcohol, because usually 99% time it's in the family. Now it may skip a generation, but it's in the family. Yeah. Other things I'm looking for as well is low self-esteem, possibly touching on depression, feeling of less than, no self-worth, letting people trample all over you. These are the signs I'm looking for, because, and there's another, you're going to get these statements, people are going to go, what? Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. No one's done as much research as us. Alcohol has got 1% to do with alcoholism. It's not about the alcohol. It's about me. It's about the way I was born, the way I was raised. And the gateway drug is not marijuana. It's trauma. Kind of sounds the same, but it's a huge difference. Trauma is the key to everything. So what is trauma? We'll define that shortly, but there's a huge difference. Trauma doesn't mean a plane crash. Not with the alcoholic brain.
Wow. I have said that we were watching Cops. My boyfriend loves the show Cops, and he likes it for the entertainment value, but just watching some of these people, I said to him one day, every single one of these people have some kind of trauma, have came from something. Mm-hmm. They are not just like, oh, this is just fun. Like maybe that's how it started, but that's not how it ended up. So I'm so happy that you said that trauma. So no matter whether it's alcohol or drugs, trauma,
100%. Every time, every alcoholic has trauma, period. But not everybody has trauma is an alcoholic. So there's the difference.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so let's skip to the next topic is navigating recovery treatment options.
This can be really, really, I don't know. It's like walking in the dark with a blindfold on. There's so many treatment centers out there that are just not doing the deal. You know, little Johnny's going back to them for the third or fourth time, paying 20 grand a time, 30 grand. You have to start looking at the good. There's some good people out there. But look at people who have a track record. Look at people like us. We're the only people in the world, the only company in the world to offer you a money-back guarantee if you relapse whilst following our program. It's unheard of. We have a 97% success rate. It's actually higher than that, but nobody believes us. So you have to be ready, first of all, and then you have to seek this good treatment because you can get well. I mean, we use the first 164 of the big book. I've got to tell you, of all the studying, and I studied Carl Jung and psychology, and I went back for a second PhD in behavioral science about 10 years ago. So I'm pretty educated in neuroscience, behavioral science, alcoholism, and addiction. That's my specialty. One of the best pieces of literature I have ever read in my life is the first 164 of the big book, because it's far more advanced than it should be. The book talks about a psychic change back in 1938 when they were writing it. 10 years ago, the medical fraternity said, oh my God, neuroplasticity, we can change the way we think. There's so much in that book that's phenomenal. pertaining to the alcoholic. So it is amazing when we look back on it.
Are you there?
I'm there. I'm here.
I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. It might have been my internet. But let's start where you were talking about how your company has a slight more than 97% success rate.
Yes. So there's an assessment before you come on board. So we need to know that you're ready to do this. So we're the only company in the world that offers a money back guarantee if you relapse whilst following our program, and that we do have a 90, almost 100% success rate, because we're really adamant what we do, and we found the key. We found the solution. It's a 90-day program followed by a 90-day step down, followed by a 5-year case management on changing the person you are. So we rewire the brain, we change behaviors, we calm down central nervous systems, and we stop internal dialogue. When we do all that and work on that for 90 days, because that's the chemical change, it's 90 days, we found that people are successful. Also, a key element is we add the family. If we get a patient on, that's the guy, for instance, who's married, we will not take that patient unless his wife and anybody over the age of 18 living in the house joins us on the program. If the wife says, no, I'm done, and she's still married to him, just wants him to get better, we won't take him. Because when we involve the family, the success rate goes up by 42% alone.
Yeah, which makes sense because it's not just their problem. It's the whole family is being affected, which I definitely want to dive into that a little bit later. I want to ask you, not that I'm trying to, talk crap on other treatment centers, but what is one thing that sets you apart, besides all the things that you said? What are some treatment centers doing wrong that they're just not going to see the success that they should be seeing? Do you know this?
I think first of all, the masses, they know they take in a lot of people, and usually it's insurance, so they take you in whether you're ready or not. Yeah. Most of the time you just need to present with a check in your hand, they'll take you in. So we've got to look at that. Secondly, they're always preaching about relapse prevention. Well, that word alone, relapse prevention, relapse, my brain's going to focus on that because I'm an alcoholic. And just the intensity of the education there, most therapists, and they're going to piss a lot of people off, but I don't care. I'm working from 1970s, 80s handbooks. I'm only talking about alcoholism. Now, other things that you do, therapists, all the cognitive stuff, it's amazing. You are amazing. Treatment centers are amazing. When it comes to alcoholism, there is a difference, and you're not covering that. Otherwise, do what I do, offer a money back guarantee. Stop taking little Johnny in for his 5th time at your place. You can't do that because you haven't got the knowledge, you haven't got the intensity. We only work in small groups. Our max patient thing is 4 to 6 patients at any one time, usually 4. So there's all little tiny things that we do that nobody does. You have a concierge team around you, and other people maybe can't afford to do this. They have to, it's like making special shoes. They're very expensive. They took a lot of time. They're always amazing because they're handmade. Then you get the ones that are on a conveyor belt. You can buy a lot cheaper, but they're not going to last as long. It's the intense knowledge and knowing how the neuroscience and the brain works around alcoholism, and that really, it's got nothing to do with alcohol. And we've done intensive work on trauma, which we found is probably 80-90% to do with the addiction.
Yeah. When people come in, how are they surprised to find out that it's trauma that led them to alcoholism or to addiction?
Yeah, I think in general they are, because they expect to come in and say, okay, this is the ways we stop drinking. But we don't. We go, hey, where was your trauma? Direct question. Well, I haven't got any. Oh, this is going to be fun. Let us tell you where your trauma was. Because one of my trauma was, and this was it from my mum, whether she meant it or not. Robert, how many times have I told you, you can't go to college like your brother, you're too stupid. Now, whether she was joking or not, that ruined my life. or
Yep.
part of my life. And that's one of the reasons why I became homeless, because I was always trying to prove stuff to people, and the back of the brain where my disease lives kept releasing into the prefrontal cortex, you're a piece of crap, you're never going to amount to anything, you're stupid, all the time. The internal dialogue was a killer for me, and I died twice on the streets. They brought me back to life. So I was serious about dying. I was doing no cry for help. I couldn't live with the stuff inside my head.
Yeah. I think it's so important for people to really notice this. And I might just bring this up now, because I have an issue with this personally. Is so many people want to just say, well, Rob, you had a choice. You could have chose your kids, or you could have chose alcohol, and you chose alcohol. And I feel like they just don't fully understand. Not saying that that doesn't hurt those people, that they think that they just made a choice, but there is something so much bigger that is happening, like trauma, like you said. So what would you say to those people that think it's just a choice? They just chose it. They chose it over us. Um, what would you say to those people?
Well, I get that, because that's the popular notion. But what I will encourage is research into what alcoholism is and what you'll find. And the reason why in 1996 the World Health Organization classed it as a disease was it's a biochemical reaction. And my hypothalamus and my basal ganglia are different to the normal person. So you can't fight what your brain is telling you to do. So we look at the hypothalamus alone. The hypothalamus is at the back, the base of the brain, and they're prehistoric. And what he's telling me to do, it's a survival part of the brain. So it tells us to do a lot of things. But for instance, two of the things it tells me is I need to drink water and eat food to survive. It's a natural instinct. That's why we never have to teach babies that it needs food. It's got its hands in its mouth or it'll cry because it knows it's hungry. It's a natural occurrence within the human brain. After we cross over, the alcoholic brain crosses over from, first of all, we start drinking, then we go heavy drinking, then we're abuse of alcohol, then alcoholism. Once we cross abuse to alcoholism, my hypothalamus that used to tell me to drink water and eat food tells me to drink alcohol. That's why you see any alcoholic can go days or weeks without food or water. I did it on the streets for about 6 months. We just live on alcohol because that's what my brain is telling me. So when we go back to the trauma, we go to the basal ganglia, which is kind of the repetition thing in my brain. Something, learn something, execute, feel good, so, all that stuff. Mine has got a part in it, the basal ganglia, that says self-sabotage. So I don't have a choice. And the big book says it again, we build a bright future up for ourselves and our families, and we knock it down. You can ask any alcoholic who's relapsed, give me one reason. And they can't give you 1,000 excuses. I'll give you 1,000,000 excuses, but no one reason, because it's not our choice.
Yeah. Wow. That's super powerful. Okay. So this topic, it's not a question, but it says the path to long-term sobriety. So I guess the question would be, in your words, what is the path to long-term sobriety?
One thing that every successful person does, and every recovered alcoholic does, before any big book guys come on and say, you can't say that, mention it 27 times, only mentions recovering twice. And that's to the wives and the family afterwards. So recovered means to gain one's health and state of mind back. So everyone that's in that position needs a routine. Yeah. Every single successful person, including alcoholics, need a routine. And out of that routine, they need 3 or 4 things they're going to write down every day that they're going to achieve that day. So it's all around doing your own work. Like, I need to know when I get up, I need to say a quick prayer. I need to know that God's going to place somebody in front of me every day that I need to help. I also know that every time I leave the house, I need to bless somebody, which I do. I do my own AA work. I act the Good Samaritan every day. Do I lose my temper with people? Yes, all of the time. Do I make amends immediately? Yes, all of the time. Because the only person that suffers from anything like that is me, So I'm not perfect. Neither do I want to be perfect. I'm perfectly imperfect. as the meadows taught me. But yeah, I just, there's daily routines that we have. There's things we've got to do. You don't have to do 90 meetings in 90 days, guys. It's not even an AA thing. Come from a judge in Akron. Meetings are never going to keep you sober. Just want to put that out there. It's not the meetings we make. It's the steps we take. If you're willing to change, then that's the deal. If you've tried AA before and it's not for you, go back with an open mind. Get into a good big book study, a good group where there are recovered alcoholics, just like the book says, and you'll recover like me. And most of all, if you hang around 9 depressed people, you will become the 10th. Be careful who you hang around. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. It's very important. And then watch your internal dialogue.
Yeah. So you are a fan of AA? Then.
I'm a big fan. I used to speak all over the country and world on behalf of AA. I got the privilege to do that. I always funded myself. I never took a dime from AA or the groups that I was with. I went around and did my part for a good 20 years. Yeah. And it's awesome. I have my own group. We started 12 months ago called Bring Your Own Big Book, BYOBB, which is hilarious. So yeah, every Saturday I teach a book study followed by a nice meeting. And then Tuesday evening we have a meeting. So yeah, definitely a big fan of AA.
Is that in person or is it online?
In person. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We do stream the book study online for people who live outside of San Antonio. So yeah, that's picking up, very popular.
Okay. I wanted to take note of that because, I'm always thinking for my stepdad to see if there's anything else he wants to check out and see. So
he'll be amazed. I'll send you the Zoom link every Saturday morning, 9:30 Central Time. He will love. If he likes the book, he'll love it.
Oh, he does.
Because I mixed a big book with neuroscience.
Okay.
So I tell him what the book says, and I tell him in layman's terms why this is doing this in our head.
Yeah, I love that. I think he could definitely benefit from that. So awesome. Okay. Addiction and family dynamics. So a couple questions I want to ask here. I know you already mentioned, why people, when they go into your treatment, if that's what you call it, that the family has to be on board. Some other questions that people asked is, how can we help without enabling? I think there's just so many people that just feel helpless and they don't know what to do except for enable, especially when they're so far down. I mean, withdrawals and things like that. So what can family do to help?
So you have to remember that if the family wants to help, the family must have strong boundaries, first of all, because there's a fine line between enabling and helping. So I've good boundaries around that. You're not going to do this and we're not going to do that. And if you continue to do this, then we are going to change the locks on the house, stuff like that. Because every family from an alcoholic background has a dysfunctional family. So what we find is the alcoholic, he's the sick one. He's the one that's always making a mess. He's the reason why we can't go out or bring friends back to the house. But then we took a look at the partner, the wife, and say, hey, what's your part in this? And they go, oh, no, let me tell you about Johnny. Go, no. Well, I haven't done anything. Then tell me, why have you stayed in a relationship for the last 5 years while your children watch you get beaten every night while he's drunk? Tell me why you've done that if everything's okay with you. Where's your trauma? So it's a whole family deal. It really is. Yeah. But the dysfunction is terrible because it's what we do is, it's like having two houses. The house where the alcoholic family is, we teach them new language in recovery. You know that, and I know that. There's a language that if you heard somewhere about something with a big book, you go, oh yeah, they must be like me. So two houses. This one here speaks Japanese, for instance, where the family is. We take the guy out speaking Japanese. We move him to our house. Now we teach him English for 90 days. Then what we've done after 90 days is we pick him up and we drop him back in house speaking Japanese. What's going to happen? He's going to start speaking Japanese again. So that both houses need to learn how to speak the same language, which is the recovery language, and have real strong boundaries. Is that I tell people all the time, if you don't like your wife, get a new wife. If you don't like your job, get a new job. Right. If you don't like your car, get a new car. Well, it's not that easy. Well, it kind of is. We get one shot at this. Research has shown that, even kids, well, I just stayed for the kids. That's a bullshit answer. I'm sorry. Because records have shown going back the last 25 years is that two happy children with two happy separated or divorced parents is much better than a fighting parents in the same house growing up under that situation, because what happens to the woman alone and the kids is there is no difference in brain activity for self-sabotage, fear, and trauma from the alcoholic husband or wife, whoever it may be, the partner, and somebody coming back from Afghanistan. They both walking around on eggshells. They never know when it's going to kick off, and they never know if this is their last day. The brain is on that height of on all the time, and it never comes off. But the wife doesn't know that, and the kids don't know that. So what happens is the enmeshment from them parents go down to the kids, and the kids repeat that behavior, learned behavior. Women come to me all the time, Dr. Robb, can you tell me why I keep attracting the same guy? Turns out to be an alcoholic and beats me after a bit. Well, what was your mom and dad like? Well, my dad. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's all passed down. It's generational. Otherwise, we're born with $1 million minds. Stop hanging around 10-cent minds.
Yeah.
You know, you have to look and see what your family is. Do you want to break that link? Do you not want to continue? Do you want your children to act the same as you and see the violence that you see? No, it damages them. From the age of 1, they will pick that stuff up, and they will think it's the norm when they get in their relationships, and you're putting them in danger because you couldn't break the link. Get them boundaries down.
Yeah. I love that. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. Boom. Okay. Why is it a thinking problem and not a drinking problem?
Well, it's all in the mind, as I explained before. It's not the alcohol, guys. We think it is. We think it's not the alcohol. Believe me, it's not. It's the symptom. It's my spots to my chicken pots. And people go, hey, I can see you're an alcoholic. I can see that whiskey in your hand. Hey, I can see you got chicken pox. See the spots all over you. It's like, actually, I have a viral infection that can kill me as an adult. What you see is the math. What you see is the symptom. It's the same with alcoholism. The bottle's the symptom. What's really going on? It's here. I malfunction here because I'm born this way. You have self-sabotaging all the time, and I think differently, and I hear things differently from trauma. So me and my brother years ago was stood on the kitchen table, and mum walked in, and we're both about 8 or 9, and she says to us both, get down off that table, you stupid idiots, get down. My brother jumps off laughing, and I freeze. The reason why I freeze is because what I've heard, get down off that table, you stupid idiot. I get down. I'm traumatized by that event. My brother isn't. He goes on his day. I'm traumatized by that. So I'm always looking what I'm doing wrong. If mum's in a room, can I do this? Can I do this? I'm waiting. Oh no, I better not do anything. I'm safe.
Yeah.
Affected the rest of my life.
Yep. That's how it was with my dad. He was always talking down to us. Not as bad as like your mom, I think, to my brother he was, because he was a guy, but I still felt it. Every chore we did was not good enough. Like, why could we not do this? He would have to show us, and that was not good. Like, I grew up to be a perfectionist to the 10th degree, like have to be perfect, all this stuff. It's not good. It's not good.
And all that stuff you hear as well, by the way, guys. Well, my mum did the best they can. Not good enough.
Right.
Not good enough. It takes nothing to give a cuddle and a kiss and a, hey, you're doing amazing today. I tell my eldest daughter, who's now my lead therapist in Manchester, after we got in contact 4 years ago, we sent her back to college. She's my girl over there, helping office. I tell her every single day that I love her. I tell her every single day, I don't care what you want. If I have to walk back to England, I'm going to walk. You are never going to be on your own, and you will never sit there with nobody loving you. Me and the, and this is important because we get it all the time. People go, I say to her, have you told the wife that you love her? She knows.
She knows.
Bullshit, she knows. You know, we need this communication.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was in the work when we had the Dallas offices about 2-3 years ago, and the nurse told me a story how the younger nurse said, did you see what Dr. Robb just did? That guy came in, he was suicidal. An hour later, he's walking out and he's skipping and whistling and waving to everybody. Dr. Robb's amazing. And the older nurse said, because she knew what was going to come, she said, I know. Have you told him that? Oh, no. Oof, no. I mean, he already knows, obviously, but nobody knows, guys. Nobody knows. I have cards printed that I walk up to strangers and I give them. No phone number. Just says, you are freaking amazing. And don't let anybody tell you different. And I walk away. You've got to look back and watch their face. If I compliment people, Melissa, dopamine's released into my brain. That's a natural occurrence. I'll walk up to strangers, especially guys, and go, hey, nice sneakers. Especially the tough guys, the big tough guys. Go, hey, nice sneakers, man. They go, oh, thanks, man. You watch them walk off. They'll look down at the sneakers 3 or 4 times. You
Yep.
just made that guy's day as tough as he thinks he is.
Yep.
These are the things that we research, and these are the things that we do. Changing lives and changing brains. It doesn't cost anything. I used to have to walk to school with holes in my socks and holes in my shoes because my parents couldn't afford new socks and new shoes. What I got was my mum tracing round cardboard of my shoe, then sticking the cardboard in my shoe. That's how I walked to school in the snow. So by the time I got there, the cardboard had won, and I was walking on ice through the holes in my socks and shoes. I thought mum and dad did their best. But a therapist said to me one day, hey, Rob, I know this is really big for you, the holes. And I said, it wasn't that bad. And she said, does mum and dad go to the bar, to the pub? And I went, yeah, Friday and Saturday and Sunday night. And this is what she said to me that changed my life. She said, did your mum and dad have holes in their socks and shoes when they went to the bar? Well, I just started sobbing like a child and realized that I've been chasing them socks and shoes for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
And it's time to give it in.
Yeah.
That's trauma.
Yeah. So one thing I will say, and I think you will agree with me, is our parents, no, I don't want to say they probably did, but our parents, like, I feel I have finally accepted my dad. He's no longer here with me, but I have forgiven him because I feel that he only knew what he knew. And he grew up in a very, very hard childhood also. His dad was extremely hard on him. So that's all he knew. Could he have done better? Absolutely. He could have became self-aware, realized that this was not the best way, but he never did. I don't want to be that parent. My brother doesn't want to be that parent. But I have forgiven him for that because I don't think he knew, and he didn't take the time to understand also.
There's no
What
manual.
are your thoughts?
There's no manual with raising kids. You know, the Second World War, 2 generations after that suffered because of that. They have the stiff upper lip. You know, they don't show any emotion. They just got to do this. I want to put a disclaimer out there that this is not the parents' fault, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, this is way society worked. My mum and dad barely scrubbed by sometimes. You know, it was a loving house. And this is not parents going, well, you should have done better. No, they didn't know. What did they know? It's only because we're delving back into trauma and going, but just don't take it, well, they did the best they can. Well, Melissa, you're not with your kids and I'm not with my one child that's come back to me. We can do better. And I think that is just generational learning. What most people stop smoking. Most people don't drink as much. Most people are getting healthy. So we go to the neuroscience, the trauma, the behavior, clearing all that stuff. So we are getting better and better. But hey, there's no blame for that second generation coming back from the war. Yeah. There's no blame at all. It's like the COVID virus. Well, the COVID's over and everything. It's only just begun with the trauma from that stuff. Are you kidding me? You know that 95% of people on death row are insane by the time they get the injection or the chair. Why? Because of isolation. We were stuck in the house for 12 months. Don't think that's the end of it. Right. The mask might have been gone, but the trauma and the devastation, the tidal wave from that isolation is going to kill a lot of people going forward.
Yep. You know your stuff, man. Okay, so I want to know about, because we've talked a lot about trauma and addiction. That's what we've talked mostly about. So talk to me about the understanding of body language and the somatic experience.
Somatic experience has been around for years, but only over the last 5 to 10 years is the addiction industry as a whole gone, let's take a second look at this. So we found out about 10 or 15 years ago that, hey, the body's got something to do with this alcoholism. Let's go back to 1938 when the AA book says, hey, we can't leave out the body when it comes to it, even though it centers in my mind. So then 10 years ago, we started to look back at somatic experiences as anything we need to learn from this. And it is about trauma, how we keep it down. So let's say if you've ever saw a deer being hit by a car but not died, it will lay motionless on the floor for 2 or 3 seconds. Then it will jump up and then it will shake violently. Then it'll run off. 2 minutes later, the same deer is going to cross the same road with the same car and probably get hit again. But it doesn't worry about that and it doesn't have trauma over that because it shook it off at the incident. Human beings don't do that. We deal with trauma, we take it in, we stuff it down. We take it in, stuff it down. What somatic experience teaches us is we can tell by the behavior and our body language and our feeling a week or even 2 weeks before the relapse. The gut feeling that most people don't think is real. It goes back to the tribal days when one of the tribesmen will get that gut feeling, that fear that something's near in danger. He would wake the rest of the tribe up and go, okay, let's make a decision as a group. Do we run or do we stay and fight?
Yeah.
There's loads of feelings around the body that we miss on a daily basis. The gut feeling is always right, and the first choice you make is usually the right one. But as human beings, we doubt that. So somatic experience is helping us listen to our voice and our being and our feelings. Internal dialogue is very, very hard to really watch. We won't speak to our enemies the way we speak to ourselves sometimes. So when we do that, a body change, a feeling of, we have to catch that. There's a somatic experience changing. Let's do some work around that, mostly meditation, going back to scenes of crimes where that trauma hit, so that now we can feel everything in our body when it's wrong. Because when you do something wrong, Melissa, if you stole $10 from AA one day, you can feel it's wrong. It's wrong. Yep. Okay. The problem being with alcoholism is we know that's wrong from somatic experience. We can go, hey, that's wrong. We know, we can feel it in our gut.
Yeah.
The problem with alcoholism, internal dialogue, is the normal people get that voice, you've done wrong. What alcoholics get in the same tone of voice, like I say, I love you, Melissa, I'm going to buy some flowers on the way home. Mm-hmm. What the alcohol voice says to me is it's okay to drink and self-sabotage and screw everybody else. It's in the same tone of voice that the good behavior comes from. That's why we have to look at the body as well as the mind, because the mind lies to us all the time.
Yes, it does. Can you hear my damn dog?
She's beautiful. Is it she or he?
It's a he, and he's going to drive me insane. So give me a second. I'm going to let his ass come in here because my boyfriend left. Oh, hang on. I'm going to kill him.
Welcome to the show, guys. It's Dr. Robb Kelly, the addiction doctor, looking good, feeling good, and just waiting for Melissa to get back. Boom! There we go. Look at the size of them arms. They're huge. I'm just entertaining people while you're away.
He's well, you can't see him now, but hopefully he doesn't go near. Sometimes a mic picks it up, sometimes it doesn't. So I felt like it was doing it, and I needed to stop that. The question I wanted to ask you is, a lot of this interchangeable with drug addiction?
Yes, definitely. Both present the same. Both treatments are the same for both. Okay. Only difference slightly is that one was born, one is made. So 95% of people that come to me with a staunch heroin addict, 95% of my research and my figures, 7,000 people, started in the doctor's office. So one has to take a drug to become addicted, to then cross over that line to not being able to stop because you have the addicted personality. Yeah. So that's when they both present the same. The only difference is you can trace alcoholism back 3 generations. But yeah, treatment's the same, shows up the same, trauma and family dysfunction, and even places where you grow up. But people say, well, poor people, surely they get it worse than rich people. No, that's not true. I know alcohol doesn't discriminate, but let me tell you about abandonment, that it's the alcoholic's best friend. So the abandonment in the poor families, obviously, dad not being there, not being able to care for you guys, growing on food stamps or whatever it is. Let's look at the $2 million house. Dad's never there. He's always working to pay for their house. The abandonment, mom's out socializing. It's both abandoned. Both kids are abandoned. If there's alcoholism in the family, both will be alcoholics when they grow up, unless they seek information, education first. But they still have a chance, both of them, to live a great life.
Yeah. Why? Okay. So say if my mom was addicted to pain pills, I have not struggled with with pain pills.
No, me neither.
But why would that not be a thing? Why would that not come through generational stuff? Like, why is it alcohol and not drugs?
Because we can't trace it back further enough. And only about 5 to 10 years ago did we start doing synthetic drugs. So there's no research on that. That's the only reason. Opium was around, cocaine was around in the day. Very hard to get statistics off that. And most you have to take it to become. With alcohol, it's already a dysfunction before we take alcohol. So the minute we take it, it sets off that chain reaction. Every alcoholic at the age of whatever, when they take the first drink, mine was 9, will always end up the same. It's just not the same with drug addiction.
Okay. And this is just out of curiosity for my own selfishness. So I have a very hard time wrapping my head around people drinking like just huge amounts, what, like a whole handle of vodka in a day. Like, I'm 36 years old now and I'm dying after like 4 drinks the next day. How, what makes an alcoholic different that they can handle so much more alcohol?
Well, I know people that drank more than me but weren't alcoholics. So again, going back to the liquid itself, it's nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with what time you drink, the quantities we drink, when we start, when we stop. It's nothing to do with that. The chemical reaction starts when I take alcohol into my body. All bets are off. So the thing I ask people is, when you take the first drink, can you stop? And an alcoholic will usually say no. Abusers of alcohol go, yeah, I can stop for work. I'll be there tomorrow morning. But they drink more than us. So that's the difference. I think that answers the question.
It does.
Okay.
Okay, now I know you've been asked this question a lot, and you on a news segment that I saw about you talking about this, but high functioning alcoholics. What, like, were you a successful person but still an alcoholic? And when people are trying to look for the signs and you're like, well, he shows up for work every day, he's making a lot of money, he's providing, why are you still an alcoholic though?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. High functioning. That's what I was, but it's time. Let me explain. So I'd start a new job. I'd start at 9. I get there for 8. The boss goes, hey, Rob, wow, you don't start till 9. You're here at 8. Yeah, I like to get here early. Finish at 4, 5 o'clock. Rob, you're still here. You should have gone home. Oh, yeah, I'll go. Give it over a 3-month period. It's 12 o'clock. Where the hell's Rob? That's when it starts to show. So that period might be 10 years, might be 20 years, it might be 10 weeks, might be 10 hours. But sooner or later, given any considerable period, we're going to start to show our real colors. Okay. So alcoholics will often drink on the way to work, a couple of little bottles before they get to work, take breath mints, mouthwash, whatever they do, and they'll perform pretty good because we're high performing people. And one of the things we see when we put the alcohol down and change the way we think and the behavior is, no matter what the alcoholic then goes into, is going to be successful at. Alcoholics who've recovered from the disease don't build businesses, they build empires. That's what we teach them, because the alcoholic mind is brilliant, but we can run on autopilot. People go, oh, you know something, Rob, I had a blackout for 2 days. God, I wish I could. I have blackouts for 2 months. I used to wake up in different countries. Not different hotel in different countries. How I'd got on a plane, I have no idea. Drunk, I've always convinced them something because I'm a high performer. But sooner or later, it all comes crashing down because it's a disease that never gets any better. It's a progressive illness. Yeah. Every single time that drink goes, getting worse and worse and worse. And for me, it took its period over 28 years. And then it came for me real quickly. And within 3 to 4 months, lost the kids, lost the wife, lost the house, and I was homeless. Like, real quick it came for me. And there's nothing we can do. Once it crosses over that, there's only strong treatment with neuroscience or death. Choice is yours. And that choice was hard for me to make. I wanted to die.
Without getting too deep into this, in your experience of being homeless, did most of these people that were homeless, were they suffering from some kind of mental illness?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But the funny thing is, in Manchester, England, where I was homeless, I met doctors, I met scientists, I met ex-footballers, I met a mathematician once who'd solved some math equation back in the 60s that changed the world. And he knew he couldn't stop drinking, so he didn't want to hurt anybody. So he was homeless for about 4 years when I came across him. Very, very highly educated, very, very smart guy. So yeah, there's all sorts living on the streets, because there's a certain point where you just go, I can't live in society anymore. I just can't. People always on your back. I didn't want any responsibility when I was on the streets. That was kind of, I didn't have children, didn't have to mortgage. I didn't have to make $5,000 a month to pay the mortgage and the cars and the bills. And it was all taken away. And all I could do was just drink. And it was just phenomenal. But what happened in England, don't know about over here, is in the 60s and 70s, they closed mental institutions. They just closed them. and the hospitals and the police and the paramedics were left to deal with these people. And obviously they went straight. The family doesn't want them, so they went straight to the streets. The family didn't want me. They made it quite clear that they don't had nothing to do with me. And I used to phone home from the streets, and my mum, hello. I go, hey mum. She'd put the phone straight down. She was told to do that by a good friend of mine who was in the program.
Wow.
But when we look back at our homelessness, 95% of people in Manchester back in the day when I was homeless are dead. There's only 1 or 2% that actually get off the streets, and I was one of them 1%. It's just
Oh my
crazy
God.
how it all happened. I went back there to visit my daughter, and my wife came with me, and see my dad. My mum had passed away, but we did a documentary, and we went back to the bench that I used to sleep on, because we all had our own benches, and that was my restroom, that was my lounge, that was my breakfast room, and I lay down. Be careful here. I lay down on the bench with all my clothes and new clothes and everything. I just lay down on the bench, and he took me right back there. And my new wife, who doesn't know anything, never experienced this, but she knows about my past, started to cry. It was like it took us all back to them cold nights of begging on the streets. And because the camera was there, some guys come up and say, what are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that. Somebody turned around and said, hey, he was homeless, one of you guys. And they started to cry. It was just so powerful and so healing. And this was only about 3 years ago, Melissa. It wasn't, I'm always healing. I'm always, but it was so powerful when I look back on that, and the feeling of lay down. It was just like, wow, you have come far. You've done really good for yourself.
Yeah.
God's just, this is God's vision for me, and it's just amazing.
Yeah. Would you say that your experience of being homeless was traumatic?
100% traumatic. I woke up one morning on my bench, and the guy next to me had been stabbed to death for his sneakers. I had to literally fist fight every day to stay alive. I did bare knuckle fighting. The problem with me is I went on the streets. I was a bodybuilder and a fighter, always have been, big guy, steroid freak. I went on the streets. I could have anything and anybody. But what happened over a period of time, because I wasn't eating, is my weight dropped and dropped and dropped. And in the end, I was the one who was the prey. I was the one getting beaten up. I was the one broken nose, teeth knocked out. They're trying to fight for my life.
Yeah.
But I look back now, and I always say this, my time on the streets and everything I've been through was like a semester at Harvard. The information and knowledge that I got, when people come today and go, Dr. Robb, what do you know in your big house and your big... You've never been homeless, check. You never lost your kids, check. Never been beaten and raped on the streets, check. What else have you got? And that's the connection they have with me. And they go, oh my God, how did you get out? I'll tell you how I got out, guys.
Yeah.
And you can do the same. I'm the only business owner in the world that mentors other people who want to be like me, but I get them better than me. And people can't understand it. You shouldn't be giving all your secrets away. I'm 60 years old, Melissa. I ain't got a lot. I've got like 15 summertimes left. I want to pass this on. I want to see people do good. It warms my heart when I see one of my people I'm mentoring, they get that contract, they get that television spot. It warms my heart. It's like, I just want the best for people that want to do this deal. I'm not jealous of anybody. I'll never stop you doing anything.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And I love what you said about, oh my God, what did you say? I lost my train of thought for a second. It might come back to me. About like people saying you've never been homeless, you've never done this. That's the power of connection, is when we share our vulnerabilities and our that's been my whole thing. That's how I've connected with people over the past 2 years, is because I got a lot of shit to throw out on the table, and you're probably going to have a lot of that same shit that I have. So that's how we are going to connect.
But that book says, it tells us that our past is our greatest asset, which I truly believe. So now, today, as a double PhD doctor, trained in neuroscience and alcoholism psychology, I've got to say that 10% is college and education and 90% is experience.
Yeah.
That's what makes me so good. So I'm not, look at me, I went to Oxford University. I went to Oxford because I ducked and I dived and I got a good job at Abbey Road that paid a fortune, got me through. I come from the projects. People like me don't go to Oxford. But you see, the addictive brain, it will succeed at any given task. And I caught on that at an early stage. And it's like, I do everything in it. When I met my wife 8 years ago and I told her the stuff I used to do, she goes, that's got to be you got to be telling some lies there somewhere. But she sat down with me today because we met like 7, 8 years ago. I was out of the industry, but we've done millions and millions of dollars together. And she said, I was doing something with somebody, and she said, "Oh my God, you really like that, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, always be good, always be nice, be kind. These opportunities that come up, always take them, never turn one down. Always take it, no matter what it is, no matter how small you think it is." I went into a cafe once and I'm eating with a friend of mine, and this old lady, like a bag lady, Melissa, next to me. Okay. I felt like I was going to buy a coffee, and we're talking about this success thing. And she turned around and she said, "Oh, excuse me, my daughter has a problem, blah, blah, blah. She needs help." And my friend went, "Oh, I didn't." I said, "Okay, give her my business cards." I gave her a business card. And about 2 or 3 days later, this lady called, that was a multi-millionaire of this huge fashion company that did work with the underwear company, Victoria's Secrets. Absolutely huge. I didn't know that. It's like, it doesn't matter who they are. Be kind. Give them the card. Tell them they can help you. And you never know who you're speaking to. Never know who you're speaking to.
Yep. 100%. I've had many, many experiences like that also. Okay. We have a couple minutes left. I definitely want to get in a couple of questions that my listeners, social media people, whoever asked you. I'm going to try not to do a repeat of what we've already talked about. So one of the questions is, how can a person get help if they don't have the financial means? What would you recommend?
Call up a treatment center and a time you can't afford it. Do they have any pro bono available? You'd be surprised how many people do. Get into chat rooms, go to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not promoting it, I'm just telling you to go. Mm-hmm. And then start dialogue with people around you. And if you're really stuck, call us. We'll try and get you help in that area. We know 25% of our work is done pro bono, but we're always 6 or 7 months out waiting list. Yeah. So there's always somebody out there to help. You just need to know where to look. But try treatment centers first, then try AA. Try and get somebody who knows what he's talking about in there. You're surprised. Yeah.
Perfect. At what percentage do recovering addicts go back to their same environment and fall back into old patterns?
People that don't change during treatment, don't have the change in neural pathways from self-sabotage, don't change the way they think, don't change of who they are, what they think, how they dress, what they do, will go back to the same environment every single time. So there was a girl, 17 years old, was snatched off the streets in Manchester many years ago. The police couldn't find her. After 9 months, police followed a car down the road, broke an indicator, broke a signal light, pulled him over, stolen screwdriver in the back of the car. In England, you're allowed to go back to the house. So off they went. They searched their house. They found the lawnmowers. They found bikes that he'd stolen. But they also found a big box in the corner, 4 foot high by 12 foot wide. And they said, "You got some more stolen goods in here." They smashed the lock and opened, and there was the 17-year-old girl that they'd snatched off the street 9 months before. He used to take her out every single day, abuse her, let her go to the restroom, beat her, put her back in there for 9 months. But she was alive when they opened the box. The police officer bent down, the police woman, took her out the box, put a coat round her. What's the first thing she did? She got back in the box.
Oh, yeah.
If nothing changes, guys, nothing changes. It's the same with alcoholism. Get out the freaking box, smash it to pieces, change everything about you, show me your friends, I'll show you your future, and go on to live an amazing life.
Yeah. Do you believe that everybody is capable of being helped if they want help?
100% of the time. I've seen the hopeless get hope. I've seen homeless bums become CEOs of companies. I've seen homeless ones become managers of a sweeping company, sweep the road. It makes no difference what your aim is, but you can succeed. And this is what people don't understand. Stop taking the brakes off your imagination. Take them off. Stop putting it, I can't do this, I can't do that. If you keep saying to yourself that's what's going to happen. But let me tell you, quantum physics is real. Start visualizing it. Once you visualize yourself in that job with that girl, that house, that car, whatever it is, if you're doing the right thing to take care of yourself and helping others, whatever you imagine you can hold in your hand, it's 100% guaranteed. And every time I say that, Melissa, someone go, "Well, I can't be president of the United States." Well, listen, let's forget your political views for a minute. We had a business running the country. Don't tell me you can't achieve your dreams. You can, and you are capable. And if you're sat at home listening to this, guys, for 1 second, I'm being serious now. take this if nothing else. If you're sat at home thinking that you're not worth it, if you're sat at home thinking that you're never going to become anything, I want to apologize to you guys because somebody's put that there. That's not the way we are born. We are born to succeed. We are born to dream and live that dream. That's what we're born for. But family and friends and people around you want to kick that out of you. Don't be stupid, Rob. You can't go to college. Don't be stupid. You can't be a footballer. Don't be stupid. Stop it listening to them. Tell your internal dialogue. Okay? Every time somebody says impossible, throw a apostrophe at them. It's I'm possible, not impossible. That's what I do. I go this. I go, what are you doing? I'm throwing an apostrophe at you. What the hell does that mean? Well, you said it's impossible. I'm saying think, apostrophe, I'm possible. Every single time.
Oh my gosh. So you can't see it right now. You might be. Let me move it. That's right back there is my vision board.
Beautiful.
I created and I look at it every single day. I'm telling you, I am envisioning and I have big goals, huge goals. So you got to be able to visualize it and believe it because I suffer from limiting beliefs because of how I was talked to as a child. So you were literally preaching right to me when you said that. Okay, 2 last questions. Tell me about your book that you have out and where people can find it.
It's called Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. It's a sad story of how my daughter was taken away from me, and that's what she said. Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking as the police took her away. It's on Amazon. I don't know where you guys have a Walmart. Apparently it's in there as well, but Amazon is the go-to place. Now, here's a couple of things. Go on and buy it. It's good for you. It's a good story. It's information. Buy it. Then pass it on to a friend. It's $9. If you buy it and go, well, this is not worth it, find me, Dr. Robb Kelly, any search engine. I'll refund you the money, okay? As long as you pass it on to somebody else. So buy it. If you don't like it, I'll refund. It's a great read. Or search Dr. Robb Kelly. You'll see it's actually on my website, robbkelly.com. Spell it with 2 B's, ROBBKELLY.com. Press there button to talk to me direct. What? I know, right? And then underneath it is a button to buy the book. Go buy it. You'll enjoy it, believe me. All the money from, not all the profits. You know, you hear people go, all the profits go to, no, that's how everyone's taking the piece out. All the money of the $9 goes back out there into the community. We help single people who want to get the kids back. We pay for attorneys, buy that small car. We spent over $200,000 giving back last year to people on the streets or wanting to get their life back again because they can't see the kids or they've got nowhere to go. That's what that book does, part of it.
That's awesome. And as you guys know, it's always in the show notes, you guys. I put how you can connect with the people. So it's in the show notes as well. My last question to you is, in your own words, what does the bright side of life mean to you?
The bright side of life is living your dream. The bright side of life is living inside your skin, feeling very comfortable. And the bright side of life is to help others. That's the foundation of a bright life moving forward. And you do them 3 things, guys, and it's 100% guaranteed that your life will take off.
Yes. Awesome. Robb, thank you so much for coming here to share all of your knowledge. I know I took you out of the pool, but now you can go back in the pool.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. I was looking forward to it. So, and then when they messed up, it's like, oh my God. And then as soon as they said, oh, Matt, I jumped out, it was like, no, good. I've done my research on you. I was just looking forward to this. You're an amazing person. And let me tell you something while we're still live.
Yeah.
Melissa, I want to recognize you and thank you for what you do. I want to recognize you and thank you for the hundreds of thousands of people that you help with a knock-on effect. I want to recognize you for standing out in the crowd and being counted where everybody wants to hide with this illness or, you know, PTSD and trauma. I want to thank you personally. You're an amazing person. You'll have all the success in the world. I have this knack of spotting winners. I don't know why. It's real, believe it or not. Thank you for all your work. And thank you for allowing me on today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. That was awesome. And that was very, very, very encouraging. Very encouraging.